Why is it that some women, as they get older, suddenly seem to grow distant from the very man they once loved deeply? If you're a senior watching this, you're about to hear a truth many people feel but rarely say out loud. We're talking about why some older women develop quiet resentment, even bitterness, toward their husbands later in life. Now, before you think this is just about nagging, bad moods, or getting cranky with age, let's pause. This is much deeper than that. These feelings don't happen overnight. They build slowly, quietly, and almost invisibly over years, until one day, they can no longer be ignored. If you're a husband trying to understand your wife, or a woman nodding along because this feels painfully familiar, know this isn't about blame. It's about clarity. Because once we understand what's really happening, we can begin to heal, reconnect, or at the very least, make peace with the changes in front of us. Let's start with the first and perhaps most surprising reason: a loss of shared purpose. When couples are younger, life is full of common goals. Raising kids. Building a career. Paying off the house. Planning for retirement. There's always something pulling you forward, together. But after 60 or 70, when many of those milestones have been reached, something unexpected happens: that shared purpose disappears. And when the purpose goes, so does a vital part of the connection between husband and wife. Without a shared direction, couples often drift. The children are grown. The house is paid for. Retirement has settled in. And suddenly, many women find themselves asking, what are we even doing together now? Not in anger, but in quiet, painful reflection. For some men, this change isn't even noticeable. They're content spending their days watching TV, reading the paper, or tinkering in the garage. But for many women, that stillness feels suffocating. It's not just boredom, it's the emotional weight of living beside someone who no longer dreams, no longer plans, and no longer reaches forward with them. Take Ellen, for example. She's 68, and I met her at a local community center. She told me, we used to talk about traveling, volunteering, and even starting a garden together. Now he just sits on the couch. I feel like I'm still reaching for something, but he's already given up. And her words weren't just about lost plans. They were about a lost partnership. You see, women want to feel like they are still building something with their husbands: a project, a memory, a legacy, or even just a daily routine filled with meaning. When that stops, many feel like passengers in someone else's life. They lose the feeling of being a team. And that's when resentment slowly creeps in. Not because their husbands are doing something wrong, but because they're doing nothing at all. Now, this doesn't mean couples need to start a business or climb mountains. It can be as simple as cooking new recipes together, volunteering once a week, or even mentoring younger couples. Purpose brings vitality. And vitality brings connection. If you're a husband watching this, I urge you, don't mistake quiet for peace. Sometimes, silence isn't comfort. Sometimes, silence is distance. Distance in disguise. That's what this silence often is. Your wife may not be angry, she may simply be longing for that spark of shared energy again. That feeling of, we're still in this together. And the good news? You can bring it back, even in small ways. And to the women watching this, nodding quietly, listen closely: you are not selfish for wanting more than just coexisting. You are allowed to seek joy, passion, and purpose in your later years. In fact, you deserve it more now than ever before. Life didn't end when you turned 70, and neither did your heart. Now, let's move to the second reason: communication breakdown. What begins as a small crack in communication often grows into a deep canyon. Over time, many couples stop truly talking to each other. Sure, the words are still there: dinner's ready, did you take your pills? But the deep, heart-to-heart conversations fade away. And without them, connection begins to wither. When a wife feels like her husband no longer cares about her thoughts, her stories, or her feelings, she starts to close herself off too. This breakdown doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly, over years. Maybe he gets tired of hearing the same complaints. Maybe she gets tired of repeating herself. Maybe they've both been misunderstood so many times that they just stop trying. Eventually, silence feels safer than speaking. But that silence has a price. It creates distance. And the longer that distance grows, the easier it is for resentment to settle in. You see, real communication is more than just words. It's presence. It's leaning in, paying attention, and showing you care, even when the topic isn't exciting, even when you're tired, and even when it's something you don't fully understand. When a husband stops truly listening, his wife begins to feel invisible. And when a woman feels invisible for too long, her heart starts to retreat. Take Ellen, for example. She's 68. She told me, "We used to sit on the porch and talk for hours. Now he just scrolls through his phone or naps in his chair. I could tell him the house was on fire, and he'd probably just nod." Her words were filled with frustration, yes, but also with deep sadness. She didn't want grand gestures. She didn't want diamonds or vacations. She just wanted to be heard again. Because here's the truth, when a woman spends years feeling like her voice no longer matters, she starts to wonder if her marriage still matters. Some women stay silent and endure it. Others quietly check out. They stop caring. They stop investing. And that's when the shift happens. The love they once had turns into disappointment. And over time, disappointment hardens into distance. If you're a husband listening right now, I want you to remember something. Think back to how you talked to your wife when you first married her. You leaned in. You asked questions. You laughed with her. That man is still in you. You don't have to reinvent yourself, you just have to care again. And if you're a wife watching this, nodding as if I'm telling your story. And if you're a wife watching this and feeling emotionally abandoned, I want you to hear me clearly, your feelings are valid. You deserve to be heard, not out of duty, but out of love. If you're still here watching this video and these words are resonating with you, drop a number 2 in the comments so I know you're with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. Your support helps us keep creating videos that inform, inspire, and bring hope to people just like you. Now, let's move forward. Reason number 3, emotional neglect. One of the most painful reasons women begin to feel distant from their husbands in later life is emotional neglect. And I don't mean the loud, obvious kind. I'm talking about the quiet kind, the kind that creeps in so slowly over the years that you almost don't notice it happening. It's when conversations become purely functional. It's when a husband stops asking how she's really doing, not just her health, but her heart. It's when a wife stops feeling like a cherished partner and starts feeling more like part of the furniture in her own home. The lights are on. The meals are shared. The routines go on. But the connection? It's gone. And here's the thing, emotional neglect doesn't usually come from cruelty. It comes from complacency. After decades of marriage, some husbands simply settle in. They assume their wives know they're loved, appreciated, and respected, so they stop saying it. They stop doing the little things that matter. The tender words fade. The thoughtful gestures vanish. What used to be laughter turns into long silences. What used to be us becomes 2 separate lives under the same roof. For many women, especially in their later years, this isn't just loneliness, it feels like a quiet kind of abandonment. She may not say it out loud, but deep down she starts to wonder, am I still loved? And when that question goes unanswered year after year, something begins to harden inside her. At first, it isn't anger. It hurts. But when hurt is left unattended for too long, it turns bitter. And once that bitterness sets in, even the smallest gestures from her husband feel empty, or worse, too late. I'll never forget Carol's story. She was 74 when she told me, my husband and I raised 3 children together. We built a life. But somewhere along the way, he stopped looking at me when I spoke. I'd talk, and he'd just nod or keep staring at the TV. I realized I could be a ghost in my own living room. Carol didn't yell. She didn't leave. She just stopped feeling. Her love didn't die in a dramatic fight. It faded quietly, day by day. That's why emotional neglect is so dangerous. It doesn't come with slammed doors or shouting matches. It comes with silence. It comes with distance. And if it's left unchecked, it can turn even the deepest love into resentment. So, if you're a husband watching this, I urge you, ask her how she's feeling. Really ask. Not because something's wrong, but because she still matters. And if you're a wife watching this and feeling unseen, please hear me, you are not crazy. You are not alone. This is a pattern many women face. And simply naming it is the first step toward healing. Number 4, stonewalling. One of the most silent but devastating reasons women grow distant from their husbands later in life is something called emotional stonewalling. And it doesn't usually begin with anger or cruelty, it begins with withdrawal. Little by little, it builds a wall between 2 people who once shared everything. By the time many women realize how lonely they feel, their husbands are already hidden behind that wall. Emotional stonewalling looks like this: she tries to talk about what's bothering her, and he answers with silence, or a grunt. She asks how he feels, and he changes the subject. She brings up a memory hoping to connect, and he brushes it off. One moment at a time, these little dismissals stack up, until they turn into a heavy, suffocating silence. Many men were raised in a time when showing emotion was seen as weakness. They were taught that feelings were women's business, and real men stayed quiet, stoic, and strong. But here's the painful truth: in marriage, silence can wound far deeper than anger. Because anger, at least, means you still care. Silence feels like abandonment. I'll never forget Susan, a 72-year-old woman I met at a local book club. She told me, when we were younger, he used to get mad sometimes, but at least we talked. Now it's like living with a ghost. I speak, and all I get is that blank stare. I feel invisible. That word, invisible, is one of the most heartbreaking things a wife can ever say about her husband. But let me be clear, emotional stonewalling doesn't always come from cruelty. Often, it comes from fear, fear of conflict, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of being vulnerable. But the result is always the same: a woman who feels unheard, unseen, and slowly unloved. And when that hurt sits unspoken for too long, it turns into something heavier: resentment. Because no one wants to feel like they're talking to a wall. The tragedy is, this can be fixed. Most women don't expect their husbands to pour their hearts out every day. They don't need poetry or perfect words. They just need to know their voice matters, their emotions aren't dismissed, and their presence is still seen and valued. So, if you're a husband listening right now and you found yourself retreating into silence, I want you to hear this: you can change it. Open the door, even a little. When she speaks, respond. Even something as simple as, "Tell me more," can make her feel heard. If words are hard, write her a note. Share a memory. Break the silence in any way you can. And if you're a woman living with this, I want you to remember this: your voice matters. Don't let someone else's silence erase your spirit. You deserve to be heard, acknowledged, and emotionally connected, no matter how many years you've been married. Emotional stonewalling is not just a bad habit. It's a quiet destroyer of closeness. And unless it's faced, it turns love into distance, warmth into cold, and marriage into 2 people simply sharing a roof, but not a life. You don't have to accept that. You can speak up. You can ask for more. And sometimes, even after years of silence, it only takes one brave step from one person to start tearing that wall down. And if you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 4 below so I know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to subscribe and turn on the bell. Your support helps us keep creating meaningful content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's close with this. Final thoughts. When you've spent a lifetime beside someone, your relationship carries many layers, some filled with love, some with silence, and some with quiet disappointment. The truth is, nobody reaches this stage of life without a few emotional bruises. And for many women, those bruises come from years of feeling unseen, unheard, or disconnected. But here's what I want you to remember: you are not powerless. You are not stuck. And you are not alone. Many women begin questioning their marriages later in life, not because they've become bitter or selfish, but because for the first time, the noise of raising children and managing responsibilities has faded. And in that quiet, they finally have space to feel. They start asking, is this really all there is? And that question isn't born from anger. It's born from longing. A longing for companionship. For laughter. For curiosity. For respect. And here's the beautiful part: it is never too late to ask for more. Not with anger. Not with blame. But with hope. You don't have to walk away from your marriage. You also don't have to stay silent about what's missing. You can speak. You can ask. You can reach for connection again. If you're a man watching this, I hope you've heard not just the reasons why women grow distant, but also the opportunities to grow closer. Every single issue we talked about today, loss of purpose, broken communication, emotional neglect, and stonewalling, can be healed. It doesn't take grand gestures. It takes showing up. It takes small, consistent acts of care. It takes paying attention to the person sitting beside you and saying, I still see you. You still matter. And if you're a woman watching this and feeling understood, please hold on to this truth: your feelings are real. Don't hide them. Don't shrink them. You've spent a lifetime taking care of everyone else. Now, it's time to honor your own heart. Love in later life doesn't fade on its own, it only fades when it's forgotten. But when it's nurtured with intention, it can feel just as powerful, sometimes even more, than it did in the beginning. So speak up. Ask for change. And believe that you still deserve connection, laughter, and joy. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments one thing you learned from this video and how you plan to use it in your life. Your words mean more to us than you know. They give us the strength to keep creating content that truly matters. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this. Together, we can bring hope, understanding, and connection back into the lives of seniors everywhere. We'll see you in the next video.